Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally actually Tiffy time. Let's go! Today I'm reacting to your Tiffy Time Friday Night SmackDown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those thoughts are good, bad, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot take after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people wanting to submit their hot takes for Raw Netflix, so please make sure you go over there and follow the X page. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm really confident that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. By the way, our review of Friday Night SmackDown alongside footage of everything that happened is already up and available on the Patreon, so go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. We upload so much more extra content that never gets uploaded here to YouTube, so go check it out and give it a chance. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's read your Tiffy Time bullshit. What a glorious, glorious time it is to see Tiffany Stratton as the new WWE Women's Champion. Easily one of the best women's Money in the Bank cash-ins of all time. It was done masterfully. Listen, it is no secret that on this page, I've been hypercritical about Tiffany Stratton's booking as Ms. Money in the Bank over the last several months. And everything that I've critiqued, everything that I said, I still stand by everything that I said. I still think that her time as Ms. Money in the Bank was booked terribly, even though I believe that this cash-in was fantastic. But even though I was rather critical of her time as Ms. Money in the Bank, I was always optimistic about the end result, about the cash-in, because Triple H has demonstrated that he can book a really awesome, memorable cash-in like he did with Damian Priest, and he did it again here with Tiffany Stratton. I feel like it's further proof that Triple H, when it comes to the Mr. and Miss Money in the Bank concept, he's really great at booking the actual payoff of the concept, but really bad at booking the lead up to said payoff. I even think that they're self-aware that they were booking Tiffany Stratton into oblivion with all of these fake cash-ins, considering her real cash-in involved a fake cash-in to play on our expectations of another growth-inducing fake cash-in. Well played, WWE. Now, do I think that this is the best or one of the best women's cash-ins? I absolutely do. I feel like this was played incredibly well. I also feel like they picked a good venue to do this, the first 3-hour Friday Night SmackDown. I still think that there were better opportunities to create a longer lasting impact of her cash-in, like at Survivor Series War Games or at Saudi Crown Jewel. Both of those shows I feel would have created a bigger impact, but this is a solid bronze medal in terms of the best venue to do it at. More than anything, I'm just happy that we have Tiffany Stratton as a champion. I'm glad that we're done with all of these tomfoolery, fake cash-in shenanigans. I'm glad that we have the future of the WWE sitting atop of the WWE, and now really the possibilities are endless. We can have a rematch with Nia Jax. She can run it with Bianca Belair. She could run it with Naomi. She could go up against Jade Cargill or returning Charlotte Flair. There are so many dream matches that are on the table, and we're just around the corner from WrestleMania to make whatever one of those dream matches you want feel even more of a dream match. But folks, it's Tiffy time. I know that it took a long time to get here. I know it was a difficult road to get here, but goddamn it, it's time. The blue mat in SmackDown is pretty cool. Too many people have an opinion about this. Like, I just frankly don't care. Blue mat, yellow mat, red mat, black mat, white mat, it's still wrestling. It just doesn't change anything at all whatsoever. And so many people were so upset about a slight variation on the color of the ring that just does not impact the product at all. But that's wrestling fans, right? If we change one little thing, if it's not an amazingly perfect thing that we're looking for, we turn it into this giant problem when in reality, it's just not a problem at all. I just don't care about what color the fucking mat is, if I'm being honest with you. Is it cool? Sure, whatever. If it didn't change, it would have been fine too. Cash-in does not equal good Money in the Bank run. While the whole sequence of Tiffany was great and probably my favorite one on the women's side, that does not take away from the fact that her whole run as Ms. Money in the Bank was booked pretty bad. Yes, and I feel like as fans, we should expect a good cash-in and a good run. I feel like too many people are just sort of content with one one good side of the plate and are totally content with the other side of the plate just being a giant pile of shit. The perfect world is a good Mr./Miss Money in the Bank run and a great cash in, because right now, just like what happened with Damian Priest, there's just going to be a lot of question about Tiffany Stratton's initial run as a WWE Women's Champion. Are people going to think that she's a paper champion, that she's not deserving because of all of these fake cash-ins? Because that's the exact same thing that happened to poor Damian Priest, and he had to spend months trying to prove that he wasn't a paper champion. So I agree. I feel like there's going to be too many people that are going to say the dumb-ass line of, see, you should have let Papa H cook. Listen, the cooking process should be enjoyable as well. There's no reason that just because we got a great payoff, which led to a great episode of SmackDown, to really fun, entertaining television, that everything else that happened leading up to it has to be bad and not entertaining. Maybe I'm being a spoiled wrestling fan, but I just don't think that it's too much to ask for the whole thing to be good. Why do we have to expect and allow shittiness just because the end result is great? I think Io was the only good booked Money in the Bank winner, male or female, in the Triple H era. Her 1 month run was fantastic, especially her interactions with Asuka, and obviously the cash-in was top tier too. Yeah, but even the Io Sky run as Ms. Money in the Bank is not a particularly great sample size, considering, like you mentioned, it was only a month old. We'll have to see with the next wave of Mr. and Ms. Money in the Banks. I hope that they've learned that fans do not like these fake cash-ins. I hope that they learn that out of sight, out of mind is the way to go. So in a world where I still believe that we are in the best era of professional wrestling when it comes to booking, there are still some flaws, and the Money in the Bank concept is one of the biggest glaring flaws in the Triple H era of booking. No idea why the Bloodline 6-man match was the main event over the women's title match. It had one of the best women's cash-in, and it was a title match. So I agree, but I've given it some thought, and I have a reason as to maybe why it wasn't the main event, and if I'm right, it's probably a good reason. Listen, this was the first 3-hour episode of Friday Night SmackDown, but for decades, SmackDown was only 2 hours long. So the majority of the people tuning into this episode of Friday Night SmackDown on a Friday have always made time to be available for 2 hours to watch the show. So maybe their expectation was that their highest viewership was going to be at the end of the second hour as opposed to at the end of the third hour, because people and fans across the world have been used to watching a 2-hour show. And if you look at when the cash-in happened, it happened at the end of the second hour, where it would have traditionally been on the main event spot had SmackDown been 2 hours. Maybe they were expecting a giant viewership drop-off going into the first ever 3 hours of Friday Night SmackDown. If that is the case, then I'm actually glad that WWE put the cash-in where it was so that it could be in front of as many eyeballs as possible, as opposed to maybe getting lost in the shuffle in the third hour where most people aren't accustomed to staying up to watch Friday Night SmackDown. Again, I don't know. I'm just sort of connecting dots and trying to make sense of it, because under most circumstances, I would also be agreeing with you and having the pitchforks and the torches out and saying, why didn't the women main event when this was the perfect moment for them to be closing the show? I mean, we got the fireworks and the celebration, something that you would expect to close the show, right? But perhaps it was also to subvert our expectations and for us to say, well, there's no way that they're going to do a cash-in if it's not the main event. Maybe that was the plan as well. Listen, I'm just trying to find the silver lining here, because traditionally I would also be agreeing that this should have been in the main event, but I feel like in this scenario, you could find decent reasons as to why it wasn't. Naomi versus Nia Jax is already a match of the year contender. Yes, okay, so the cash-in is the thing we're all going to remember, but holy sweet mother of God, Nia Jax versus Naomi was an actually fantastic match. I dare say that this may have been better than Bayley versus Nia Jax at SummerSlam. I think I might have liked this match more, and even though this is the first episode of WWE main roster TV, I do think that it is in the conversation for 2025 match of the year. Maybe it won't be towards the end, but it's certainly an early contender. It started off slow, but then some of the moves that Naomi and Nia Jax were doing on each other, the drama, the close calls, the cool spots, honestly, like, this match was in its own right fantastic, and people are going to forget about it because the cash-in happened after the match, and that's all everyone is talking about. And I know it's all everyone is talking about because in the replies of when I asked for your hot takes, like 99% of people were just submitting finding things about Tiffany Stratton, and it was hard to find things that weren't Tiffany Stratton related. Royal Rumble in Saudi 2026, major L. You know what? I also wouldn't be surprised if they double down and make this the first ever two-night Royal Rumble. We've heard rumors that WWE wants to two-night all of their big shows like Money in the Bank, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and I wouldn't be surprised if Royal Rumble is the next one on the docket to be turned into two nights, because from a structural point of view, it makes the most sense to be two nights because you have a men's Rumble and a women's Rumble. I personally don't care as much because the Saudi shows for the most part over the last couple of years have been rather good, and personally, as somebody that does this as a living, I don't mind a PLE at noon because it means I don't have to stay up till 3 a.m. editing and recording. I think the one like really shitty thing about this is that we're gonna have a women's Royal Rumble without women being able to wear the ring gear that they would traditionally wear. I feel like that's kind of shitty. But I'm nowhere near as sour as I was on Saudi shows compared to what I was like a couple of years ago. But hey, at least, and again, I'm trying to find silver linings here. At least it's not WrestleMania, but I wouldn't be surprised if WrestleMania is going to be going there over the next couple of years because money talks, folks. Money talks. And they got a shit ton of it. Oh, no.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. This got
That, folks, was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club offerings available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at Jacob Fatu versus Mads Kruger in MLW in a Weapons of Mass Destruction match. The legendary TLC match for the World Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 17. People have been waiting for a long time for that one. The absolute classic that is Io Sky versus Bayley at WrestleMania 40. The Damian Priest versus The Miz zombie match from Backlash 2001. Spoiler, The Miz gets eaten alive. And we're also looking at the classic that is Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay at AEW Forbidden Door 2023. You're going to be getting all of this plus the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, the currently ongoing Undertaker WrestleMania watch along, and the currently ongoing Royal Rumble watch along. That is so much more extra content that never gets uploaded here to YouTube because we just simply can't. So go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. There's a link in the description or a link in the pinned comment. Come try it out even for just 1 month. I'm confident that you're going to fall in love with the community and with the content. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support, but let's get back to the video. Tiffy's cash-in was the ultimate reminder. Let Triple H cook. Listen, I sincerely hope that we leave the sentence, let Triple H cook behind in 2024, because I love Triple H's booking. I really do. But for the most part, so many people use Triple H cook as a defense mechanism to excuse bad booking decisions simply because you expect that the end result is going to be amazing when we should be expecting everything to be amazing. Look, I understand that I'm being a critical, harsh fan of the product, but we shouldn't excuse bad things just because at some point it's going to be good. I do genuinely believe that we deserve an experience that is good throughout. I just want to remind the world that Australia was cheering for Tiffany Stratton long before the rest of the world. Don't believe me? Check out Elimination Chamber Perth. Oh God, shut up. Oh, look at us. We were cheering for Tiffany Stratton first. What are you, gatekeeping Tiffany Stratton now? You really want me to gatekeep you right back? You know who was cheering for Tiffany Stratton before everybody? People that actually watched NXT. If your first introduction to Tiffany Stratton was Elimination Chamber, fantastic. But she was cooking on NXT for years beforehand. Do not try to gatekeep Tiffany Stratton from the rest of the world simply because her first major showcase just happened to be in Australia. SmackDown going to 3 hours is great for wrestling. It expands storylines and will create better feuds. 100%. This is easily the biggest benefit of this extra hour of Friday Night SmackDown. We're going to get more exposition. We're going to get people that typically don't get TV time getting TV time. We're getting divisions actually getting meaningful storylines, and we're seeing it predominantly with the tag team division, something that for the most part has just been casted aside and been given matches for the sake of matches, but now they're actually being given meaningful storylines with promos, with segments, with characters that you can actually get behind and characters that you can actually hate. This is going to be great for so many of the divisions. outside of the main event that traditionally hogs most of the TV time. It's time to give a shout out to Nia Jax. No one asked for her to return, but since she's been back, she's done a fantastic job and has been instrumental in pushing Tiffany forward. So in my end of the year awards on the Wrestling is Cool podcast, I awarded Nia Jax my guilty pleasure because I'm a big fan of Nia Jax in 2024, but yet somehow I'm still embarrassed to say it out loud because so many people immediately want to jump down your throat if you try to say anything positive about Nia Jax. But I think cat's out of the bag. I feel like we need to show the world that Nia Jax was a great champion. She had a great 2024. She's not, everyone's favorite. She might not be your particular flavor, but the flavor that she does provide, I feel like she's provided the best version of said flavor over the last year. She had a fantastic 2024, bookended with a decent championship run and ended in a really memorable cash-in as well. And you're right, I do feel like Tiffany Stratton's overall package and her presentation was made better when she worked alongside Nia Jax, and I feel like that goes a long way to setting up Tiffany Stratton to be a main eventer moving forward for the next decade and a bit. Where has Roman been? We have a build-up to what could be the beginning of the end of the Bloodline story on Netflix premiere, and bro's nowhere to be found. The match is losing hype for me. This match should definitely have a lot more hype going into it because this is a monumental show, the first ever Raw Netflix. But not only is this a monumental show, this is a monumental match that they've been building up towards for the better part of a year and a half at this point between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, the heir apparent, the fight for the Ufalafa, it's tribal combat oos. This should have so much more hype because this is a major inflection point in the Bloodline story, as you are mentioning, and Roman has been nowhere to be found, and I do feel like this has damaged and diminished the hype for this match, which is partly the reason why it's probably not main eventing Raw Netflix. We'll see. Now that we have proof that they're willing to do the big thing, the big reveal like Tiffany Stratton's cash-in, not on the main event, maybe they do this on Raw Netflix. Maybe The Rock does come back and it actually isn't the main event of the show. Maybe it closes out the second hour like the cash-in did. I obviously don't know where Roman is. I try to not be particularly critical when we don't have Roman Reigns on screen because you just never know with his health what he might be dealing with. But it is just objectively true that without him there is significantly less hype for this match. And asking Solo Sikoa to be the entire driving force for this match and this feud is asking a lot of him, even though he's doing some of the best work of his career on the microphone. It is still just too much of a task to ask Solo to be the sole bearer of this feud. I know I'm probably alone on this, but I think that Kevin winning would be great. Cody has had a deserved title run, but it's been slightly boring and lackluster for me when it comes to the PLEs. I believe Cody will win, but what a moment it would be to have an unexpected title change. Listen, there are so many factors going into this match now that I'm no longer fully 100% convinced that Cody Rhodes is walking out as the WWE champion at the Royal Rumble in this ladder match. And that being said, I'm still like 99% sure, but I think now there's actually a chance that Kevin Owens somehow walks out of Royal Rumble with both titles because of Drew McIntyre entering the picture. Drew McIntyre wanting to take out everyone that has aligned themselves with Roman Reigns. And he did tell Cody Rhodes at the end of the promo to watch your back. And that's what he's been telling people that he's been absolutely destroying over the last several weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Kevin Owens was the only guy that reached out to Drew McIntyre when Drew McIntyre was having a family crisis and had a death in the family. Maybe Kevin Owens is that guy, and as a favor, Drew McIntyre might help him win the championships. I'm saying it out loud, and the more I say it, the more excited it makes me. Cody should have been nicer to his dashing brother. Yeah, what was that? Like Drew McIntyre coming out there and saying, I want to help you, and Cody Rhodes being like, screw you, bitch, let's fight. It's just a weird reaction. Pretty Deadly and DIY teaming up makes the tag team division much more interesting. Hopefully we get a big title match between DIY versus Pretty Deadly versus Motor City Machine Guns versus Legado del Fantasma. And don't forget the Street Profits. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the Mania match that they're building, another multi-team ladder match for the WWE tag team titles. And if that's the talent that's involved, holy hell, still a ladder match for those tag titles would be fantastic. But not only does it have to be just a good match for the sake of being a good match, now with that extra third hour, they can actually tell a really good story leading into a major show like WrestleMania, where not only can the match be fantastic, but the storytelling can be fantastic as well now. The hug caught me off guard, but it makes sense. Drew hugging Cody, thanking him for ending Roman's reign of terror. Yeah, it did feel like a doomsday hug though, like a thank you and a goodbye almost at the same time. And I feel like you might be right on the thank you side. Thank you for ending Roman's reign. But it could also be a, this is my final hug to you because I'm going to destroy you because you teamed up with Roman at Bad Blood. And I think it'd be hilarious if they somehow bring up the fact that him teaming up with Roman was part of the reason why he lost his main event on Bad Blood. That'd be funny too. If you know, you know. This is why I love Paul Heyman. You know for a fact he held up the three the way that he did on purpose to create this narrative that he might be aligned with The Rock, which he very well might be. You know, we had the promo between him and Solo Sikoa where Solo said that at the end of the night, you're going to be putting the Ula Fala either on Roman or on Solo. What if at the end of the night, he's putting the Ula Fala on none other than the final boss? It's going to be Bloodline Rules, The Rock. If Nakamura was going to beat Andrade anyway, the match should have just been for the title. It would have made it more interesting, in my opinion, and added stakes, especially for the debut episode. Sure, I don't see how you can be wrong here. I feel like adding the title would have definitely added a little bit more flavor here. I think the problem is that Andrade had been a losing machine leading up to this match, so him just randomly getting a US title match without actually having a little bit of a winning streak to justify said title match would have been admittedly a little bit weird. But really at the end of the day, this match was to continue to further solidify Shinsuke Nakamura as a monster in the mid-card, but also give LA Knight an opportunity to try and vanquish said monster of the mid-card in Shinsuke Nakamura. Which, by the way, I really thought that they were going to fully move away from LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura, considering they've been advertising LA Knight as a member of Monday Night Raw potentially on Raw Netflix. I thought that they were going to go their separate ways, but here we are. They're still continuing this feud. Wouldn't be surprised if we get this match at Saturday night's main event or maybe even a Royal Rumble. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for submitting in your hot takes, the first one of the year too. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.